We are incarcerating a lot of people, disproportionately men of color.
Our incarceration rate is 4 times higher than China's.
Having very long sentences for drug-related offenses.
And we have a huge revolving door issue around recidivism.
And if we don't provide some help to them, they unfortunately are going to turn around and get back into the prison system.
Historically, there was a real shift away from rehabilitation as an appropriate goal of corrections and a move towards, really towards punishment.
The most prominent change in terms of federal funding was removal of eligibility for Pell Grants for incarcerated individuals.
More and more restrictions on educational support across the board.
People in corrections were saying this is crazy because now we're warehousing, we're spending all this money, we're not getting anything back.
Rand was asked by the Department of Justice to analyze both the costs of effective correctional education programs as well as the payoffs.
This was 30 years of research that we were looking at.
We identified 58 unique studies on the relationship between correctional education and a range of different outcomes. If you look in the general population of inmates, recidivism rates tend to hover around 43%.
For individuals who participate in any type of correctional education program, their risk of being reincarcerated drops by 13 percentage points. For those who participate in college programs, they're half as likely to be reincarcerated upon release.
The RAND study translated the recidivism benefit into a cost-benefit analysis.
Every dollar invested in correctional education saves the taxpayer $5 in terms of recidivism costs.
This kind of magnitude of potential impact and this kind of ratio of a 1 to 4 or a 1 to 5, that was surprising.
And that payoff was related strictly to the recidivism reduction and the cost of confinement.
If we took into account the indirect costs, for example, to society, to the justice system, to victims, that cost savings would be substantially larger.
What's the value of all this? Why should you do it?
Keep me from coming back.
Without correctional education, it would have been like merging into traffic on the highway with a tricycle, trying to keep up with society's demands.
We can talk about providing education, not in terms of being nice to individuals who've committed crimes or coddling criminals. We can talk about it in terms of a sound investment of public resources.
Here in California, a bill was passed that specifically cited Rand's work.
We really used the material from the RAND study to help craft the bill, to make the case for the bill.
We've actually incorporated the key findings from the RAND study in our new Correctional Peace Officer training program.
I think it's really had a very significant impact on the field.
Lois and her team helped to spur a national dialogue.
There's an increasingly bipartisan consensus that we can't incarcerate our way out of crime.
We're on the cutting edge of some criminal justice reforms that I think are healthy and are going to be helpful for the country.
Congress is now reconsidering the ineligibility of prisoners for Pell Grants.
90% of incarcerated people will return to their communities.
And the more able they are to work, to get a job, the better off everybody is going to be.
It reduces the enormous costs of crime, both on the victims of crime and on society as a whole.
I think it's going to change our entire prison system.
A high-impact solution that is relatively reasonable to implement.
To change the culture of our prisons from a culture of punishment to a culture of rehabilitation.